Cannot handstand yet for 10 seconds in the middle of the room whenever you want, stop the core exercises, stop bookmarking all the drills you find on Instagram and give me 10 minutes. I will teach you everything I know and everything they don't tell you about handstands in just 10 minutes. First, there's not one, but hundreds of different handstands out there. The one you obsess over, the straight feet together handstand, is actually quite unforgiving at first, so stop focusing on it because it makes your life unnecessarily complicated. Oh, and by the way, this handstand hobby of yours is a complicated one. It doesn't come in 1 month, it barely comes in 1 year, and it will challenge you and it will frustrate you in the best way possible. So buckle up and choose your battles wisely. Handstand position you should choose is the one that gives you the best results for now. So if it's not the same as your Instagram crushes, fine. The quicker you start listening to what works for you, the quicker you start running away when somebody's trying to put you in a box, and the faster you will progress. Usually, that's gonna be a position where the legs are spread forward and backward, and in handstands, forward is where the fingers are facing, and so backward is the other direction. The most common shapes that fit the bill are the V shape, split leg position, the teapot, and the charger. To find the winner that you should marry, you're gonna kick up in all of these and any position you want to try, even the feet together handstand if you want. And you're gonna kick up against the wall, passing your hands 2 feet away from the wall. When we kick up against the wall, only 3 things can happen. 1, we completely miss the mark. 2, we touch the wall but we cannot stay against it. We call this touching the wall. And 3, we touch the wall and we stay against it. We call this landing on the wall. So, airballing, touching the wall, landing on the wall. At first, your mission is to land on the wall, always. So stop acting like the wall is not here. Stop trying to float and not touch the wall. Stop pretending the wall is lava. It's not. It's your best friend. This is ingrained by habit. That would be the same as you having broken your leg and walking with crutches and deciding to throw the crutches in the air, hoping that this will improve your rehab, and it won't. You need the wall for now, and you need to learn to use it less and less, and that doesn't happen by you pretending it's not there. A few scenarios from there. 1, you cannot touch the wall just yet. If that's the case, you want to film yourself and pick the position that makes you get the closest to the wall, and week by week you will get so close, eventually you will touch the wall. 2, you can touch the wall. You want to pick the position that allows you to linger the longest against the wall, even if it's by a split second. Eventually this will become you landing on the wall, and when you get to 3 landing on the wall, you want to pick the position that makes it so that you can land as softly as possible against that wall while being able to land consistently against it. Because yes, eventually we want to be able to land so soft against the wall, we don't need it anymore. How do we learn to do that? 1, you spend time every time you train just kicking up and doing nothing else. Everyone and their mothers makes the same mistake. They obsess over balance and they don't want to practice the kick up. So whenever the kick up is for the sake of balancing after. Sorry to break it to you, but you cannot skip that part. The kick up is the bread with the cheese. It is the horse before the cart. It is the cake under the cherry. 2, you want to work on the 4 layers of the kick up, and these are momentum, tension, alignment, and fingers, and you have to work on them individually as you get better and better at landing more and more consistently against the wall and softer and softer. And if you don't know what these are, keep watching. Now, notice I just said the word alignment. Alignment is the term we handstand snobs use to describe the position of your body upside down. We also use the word shape. So position, shape, alignment, same thing. The kick up and alignment are 2 of the 5 pillars you need to get a consistent, fearless 10 seconds freestanding upside down, and this will lead to 30, 60 seconds and whatever you want tomorrow. And guess what? Within these 5 pillars, there's not a shade of engage your core and squeeze your glutes and point your toes and elevate your scapula, because the fact of the matter is you can hold a handstand without any of these, but you cannot hold a handstand if you don't abide by the 5 pillars I'm going to describe to you today. One of the biggest problems in the handstand teaching industry is that people are terrible teachers, and they think that just because something worked for them, it must work for you. If you think you need this absolutely to hold a handstand, then explain that. So now you've done a kick up test and you have a position, an alignment that seems to be working for you. You're gonna try to replicate this alignment chest to the wall. That is when we position ourselves in such a way that our back faces the void and our belly faces the wall. And you're gonna make goddamn sure that you don't make the same mistake as everybody else, which is practicing a perfect, unrealistic alignment when they're chest to the wall that looks nothing like what we see when they kick up either at the wall or freestanding. You need to be congruent here. The alignment you practice at the wall should be the same. Now you may say to me, I'm not strong enough for this, and we're gonna assess that right now. If you can hold yourself like this for 15 seconds without being on the verge of dying, then you are strong enough to start working on your handstands. In time, we're gonna build that up all the way up to 60 seconds so that you are nice, resilient, and strong, and that will correct for some of the mistakes you will make in handstands. If you cannot hold 15 seconds just yet, well then yes, you have bigger fish to fry and you need to work and prioritize this conditioning part of handstand. Once you get a sense of the alignment that works for you, that you're practicing now back to the wall and chest to the wall, you are building up the third pillar of handstands, which is spatial awareness, your ability to differentiate your elbow from your ass when you are upside down. This is the mindful part of handstands where you seemingly do nothing upside down, but actually you're mapping out your sensations and the sense of where you are in space when you are inverted. In other words, you're slowly lifting the veil that you have over your eyes and you start seeing the world around you. This allows you to navigate the space as you try to balance, and no one out there seems to care about that. And they're just obsessing over balance, 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 and they keep falling and they wonder why, but they're walking literally blindfolded. This pillar is all about you feeling where you are in space, which is essential for you to be able to correct yourself and stay in balance for as long as you want tomorrow. Now, once you start having some notion of spatial awareness, you can start working on your balancing skills. And you want to notice how late in this video I talk about balance. And that's because everything we've said before is a prerequisite for you to be able to balance. Balance is a very finicky thing. It only works if your foundations are already solid. Let me show you this example to prove it to you. If you have a decent kick up, a good enough alignment, and an average sense of spatial awareness, and your balancing skills are 0, you can still catch 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 5 seconds consistently in the middle of the room. Now, on the other hand, you can have very good balancing skills. You can be able to balance yourself 30 seconds without touching the wall, at the wall, both back to the wall and chest to the wall. If your kick up is all over the shop and your sense of alignment is poor, you will catch nothing, nada. If kicking up into a floating handstand at the wall is hard, then maybe you should not spend 20 minutes working on your balancing skills just yet. Maybe your foundations are too fragile for that. For the love of God, stop pushing on that wall with your leg to try catching a few seconds of elating balance, because this is not the way we should balance. Your legs should not be the thing that you use to be able to catch anything. The only thing you should be playing with is your fingers. And your fingers are used the very same way your toes are pressing naturally on the floor when you are leaning forward, as to prevent yourself from falling, breaking your nose and bending it the same way mine is. Balance has to be the product of your finger action. And as you push on your fingers, your body will move backwards. Remember, if you've been following, backwards is away from where the fingertips are pointing. And then you're gonna start relaxing the fingers, and this will allow your body to move forward towards the fingertips. And it's the alternance between pushing and relaxing that makes your body move forward and backwards. And this oscillation is why when you look at a professional hand balancer and you look at their feet, you see that tiny movement of the legs moving forward and backward, which is a reflection of what is happening at the finger level. And you will hear that some people say that you actually can do something else. You can push on the heel of your hands here to generate a forward motion. And that's only true if either you're practicing on very soft surfaces or you have very flexible wrists, but that's not true for everyone, so maybe forget about that. In an ideal world, that's what's happening, and that's all. You kicked up into a good alignment, and now your fingers are in a timely fashion pushing and relaxing, holding you in balance. But of course, we don't live in an ideal world, and you will make mistakes, and that's part of the handstand practice, and you will need to be able to detect those mistakes, anticipate them, and recover from them. And to recover from them, we may need also to bring into the table elbow, shoulder, and pelvis corrections to make up for the mistakes you have made with your fingers. Now, that's all well and nice, but we forgot to talk about the elephant in the room, the crippling fear that you may experience at the very idea of doing everything you've been doing at the wall without it. And eventually, well, we need to be able to do all that without the wall. That's the whole point of handstands. Now, understand that there's nearly as many forms of fear as there are individuals out there who have developed along the years defensive mechanisms in their nervous system, and they're here for a good reason. So you need to be patient with yourself if you find yourself uneasy at the idea of being upside down without a wall. Some people will be afraid at the very idea of kicking up against the wall, even though they know the wall is here. Others won't so much, but they will be uneasy when we go chest to the wall. And others still won't even feel the fear of freestanding, but will still need to work on control and their sense of comfort upside down. Conquering the fear has to be an individual work so that tomorrow you can divorce that wall. And to divorce the wall, we're gonna need to work on 3 things. 1, time upside down. Yeah, you're gonna need to be patient here so that you expose yourself enough to the very idea of being upside down. You learn to bring the parasympathetic back into play, and you soothe out the defense mechanism I was talking about before. showing yourself that you have no reason to be blaring the red alarms in your head. The more you practice, especially chest to the wall, a position that makes you slightly uncomfortable and you want to fire the teacher that puts you in the panic mode, slightly uncomfortable is where growth is going to happen, and the quicker you will progress and conquer fear. 2. Overshot scenarios. We have a problem because you know that the wall is here to catch you if something happens. Chest to the wall, we also have a problem because we're glued to the wall and we may not be brave enough just yet to take off the wall. And if you already can, well, fantastic, you don't have a fear problem, you're gonna have to bring your attention on other elements, such as balance. Give me a takeoff plus balance, 5 seconds, if you expect yourself to hold 5 seconds freestanding tomorrow. So to expose yourself to the sensations we need you to be comfortable with, we need to find solutions to put your body in an angle that is past vertical. We call that past midday. To do that, we can A, use a spotter, B, use a corridor, a hallway. C, bring your hands further from the wall, as to pretend the wall is not quite there and simply use it as a safety net. And this is only relevant if and only if you already have a consistent soft kick up, like we were discussing at the very beginning of this video. 3, bailing. Yes, you will fall. There's no such thing as practicing your way to perfection and never having to face your fear. You will have to face your fear. I need you to be comfortable looking at that dragon in the eye and slay it. To do that, we're gonna need to learn to safely cartwheel out of a handstand gone wrong, so that no matter what happens to you, you know you will be safe. This is where a virtuous cycle is created as well. Because the better body aware you become, the better you can perform the corrections at the finger level, and the more you feel in control thanks to these corrections, and the safer you feel, because that sense of control is at the root of you knowing yourself. And the more you feel in control, the more the fear subsides, and this creates a virtuous loop. There's so much more we can talk about, but I'm sure you learned more in this 10-minute video than you ever had in all the courses you've taken in the past, and all the YouTube videos you've seen in the past, and certainly all the Instagram drills you've saved and bookmarked in the past. If you want more, reach out to me, and I hope to see you soon on your hands.